We're like, hello for today's. Oh, you're recording. I was going to say something very obvious, but I'm not going to take it. Hello, everybody. Karen here from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. Here today with my lovely co host, Tina.
Yeah, just hanging out in our matching sweatshirts.
Are we matching? Well, I changed my clothes this week, so
It's
not
good.
my usual get up. So it's in the basket. Gonna do my laundry. Just hopping in on a call just to have a talk about what we feel is pertinent or necessary. What are we bringing up today, darling?
I don't know. We were just talking about entities and
Usual
you
chat around dinner time.
lighthearted chats.
Yeah, yeah. Entities. I know. I was like, someone asked me how I was doing, and I'm like, I don't even know. Like we all say, like, I don't know how I'm gonna answer that. Like, I guess it's fine. I'm still here. I guess it was a good week. I didn't get fondled in my sleep for so that's nice. Got a break. That doesn't mean though I consent to it tonight, pervert entities. So yeah, but I've had a couple of abduction things happening, like little things. Oh, I had a conversation with a demiurge.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, let's talk about that. That was really interesting, and we didn't get to talk about it yet. So I would like to hear what you
uh,
have to say about that.
well, how about we give a little bit of a background? Is there anything because it sparked that conversation via like what I read from a client.
Right, the same client that we talked about in our last video before the last about the demiurge and how he showed himself as like this kind of transcended version of himself merged with technology. And that was really a trick to pull him in and make him believe that like going internally and looking at his own subconscious beliefs and thoughts and trauma was not necessary. You could just merge with technology and be free was the
Right,
message.
right.
So then he was integrating that session and got a whole bunch of information that came in for him. And that was like making all of these connections throughout his family line and how everything is kind of all tied together epigenetically.
Oh yeah, he put in a lot of like red string together about repetitions in his family line, things that have recurred, similarities
Patterns.
and patterns exactly. I read it like very quickly in the morning. Actually, I skimmed through it, which I'm not a skimmer. I don't know. But yeah, I went back to bed very quickly and was dreaming in such a vivid color, but it felt very much so like how I saw it, in Matrix, like when Neo is getting that simulation with Morpheus, and it's like in that white room, but I'm seeing everything like in my face. It's not like on a TV screen. It's like I'm there. It brings me to it. It was so interesting. Like, I was seeing a waterfall that just came right in my face, and I was hearing like a droplet of water falling into a thing. Like, but I was able to experience it all simultaneously. And so I was having a conversation with the demiurge about this specific client, and I kept seeing this circular motion rotating and rotating and saying something along the lines of we are in a cycle. We begin in a cycle and we continue the cycle and we continue to recycle. And I was like, yeah, I bet. So that's why things always repeat itself in the cycle, patterns, predictability within like the generational line. Everything continues to go until it ends. And so it has to end at somebody, which is why it's our responsibility. We always say that he confirmed it to me that it is technically can stop given that you take responsibility to end it, like making a choice, not needing to continue the pattern. You can get out of the pattern, but the wheel keeps spinning. It will always spin. So let's say you have a family, like for me, I have like 3 sisters. We're going to continue our parents' cycle and so on. I could get off the ride, but my sisters will continue to go until they end their cycle. So he was also saying in this case that with this specific client, because there was a continuous cycle, for him to kind of trick him, because we do get tricked along the way, or they put us in a different spiral. They were putting him in the spiral of, yes, getting out of that one by putting him, like as Tina said, merging with the AI and, creating a new one. But it's still going to continue. So it's kind of like you're repeating it again, but with a different, like a different metamorphosis, like potential metamorphosis and a different trajectory. Or it'll be like a different perception of it. But I felt as if like it was in a way killing the emotional body or disconnecting from the emotional body, which is why the AI component came in. The AI component came in to replace the emotional body. So it becomes the AI body. And so so he was just showing that to me, like this is where we are. It's moving and moving. Now we are in the age of AI, and people who have the potential to break those recycling cycles can now either end the cycle so it stops, or we do an insertion, emotional body comes out and AI body comes in, and it starts a new spiral
into the digital age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I see what you did. So literally, like he was really just saying, like, very straightforward, like, you have the power. You have the ability to end it, or you have the ability to continue it, or like to unconsciously continue, or to accept new terms to kind of get rid of the old cycle, but begin a new one, but which is not necessarily a good one because you're still in it.
What would the new terms be?
I suppose the way that it felt, the new terms would be that you don't feel anymore. You won't be in pain anymore. And that sounds fucking great. I mean, like on a marketing standpoint,
Right.
you won't feel pain anymore. But that also means like you won't feel the contrary to that. Like it's just going to be, the emotional body will just be numbed out or non-existent. It'll just be easier because if you're not suffering anymore, you can, it's just taking away the organic creation, it feels.
Right. And
Because
with,
again, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Because again, it felt like, that topic of conversation that we had about, the God that had to make the split. It's like, okay, well, I'll make you feel whatever, but in a way it's kind of splitting so that you can't compete with that God. They're kind of making you lower. Like it felt like that. So they're kind of splitting you apart to take away your emotional body, which is really where your power is, right? That's where the heart connects. So
Right.
if they're disconnecting the heart and making you into what feels like a god because you are like, look how powerful you are, could do, you don't have to suffer anymore. But it's a trick.
It's another trick.
And
Yeah, but
because
how
you're
many
devoid, then you can get possessed like all the other things.
yeah, and how many people are gonna fall for that though? Or and not even making the decision consciously, but because of the way things are moving so quickly with the AI and the amount that people are using it, like it's just siphoning their consciousness and emotional body without them even knowing it.
Right. Right. They don't even realize the ramifications of the AI. Though, we might have like a group of people that refuse to get the shot, let's say, because of whatever, but then are saying okay to where technology is going, that direction. So they get you in that way too. So it's just different branches of pulling people into the AI, just in different ways. So it's either not in body, but they get you through shedding, or you can use Chat GPT because that's the cool thing to do. You can get a really cool AI portrait of yourself in the 80s. Like that's how they get you.
Right. And
Piques your
when you,
interest.
right. And so when you agree to like have the AI make that picture, what are you actually agreeing to? Has anyone looked at the terms and agreements? Because when you agree for those kinds of photos from AI, you're giving them permission to use your image in whatever
To copy you.
to in whatever way they deem appropriate, which could be used in like ads and commercials, which people are now finding photos of themselves in ads because
Lord,
they agreed to AI photos.
wild.
Yeah,
Hmm.
crazy.
I think I found myself in an old ad back in the 90s. It was a maxi pad ad. Um it was an always ad. I remember I cut the picture out and I don't have it anymore, but I remember looking at it and I even confused myself on it because really thought it was me. It looked like me. Not in an actual TV ad, but like an ad like in a magazine. The girl looked like me. It was me. I don't
I
even
don't
know how they
know.
got that.
I don't know if it was you or someone else that told me this, but when you just said that, I had a flash or a vision of someone's photo that was used in like an ad for clothing. Like they were little, like a child. And it was in like a brochure, but it was a picture of them. Yeah.
Maybe someone said it. Mine was it
It might
was
have
an
been a client.
always with wings like ad. And I remember I cut the picture because it fooled me. And like when people say like, oh, I saw this picture, whatever, it looked exactly like you. And then you see and you're like, absolutely not. This fooled me. I thought it was me.
Wow.
Knowing what I know now, I'm like, holy fuck. What do they like? That could have been my clone from back in the day,
Mhm.
right?
Well, that's the other thing too, is people are seeing themselves in videos and like
Imagine seeing that. That fucking trip
those
me
kinds
out.
of things where they look like androids. Like they look identical to the person, but they'll have like, some kind of technology attached to the head and look android like, but they look identical to these people. Like people are finding themselves in these videos. I'm like, oh my God, there's a copy of me, like my likeness that is an android, some kind of like cloned android.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Well, fuck it. I was thinking about. I also had some weird dreams too about jumping into aspects of myself.
Quantum jumping. Yeah.
Quantum jumping into
There's,
aspects. There's so many topics that
yeah.
just happened within the last 2 days that
I
we
know.
chatted here. But yeah, quantum jumping into different aspects of self. Seeing Tina in with red hair, and I remember like we had like a really serious chat about like I don't want to, like for me saying like I don't want to share you, and you're like, listen, at least we have like this place where you can have both versions of me. Like it sounded like you're trying to convince me to let you do what you had to do, and I was like, I don't want to share you. I don't want you to go anywhere. Like why do we have to, why can't we just run away or something? Yeah, and you're a redhead. And then it made me think after when I woke up, I'm like, shit, I wonder if that was the redhead version that was in the pod that you saw yourself in. Did they take you after that? Like after you decided to go? Maybe that's why I've been looking for you.
Yeah, because I had information coming in that it was actually Thoth that put me in that pod,
Mm.
like back in the day.
Back in the day, it looked like very futuristic though, but back in the day.
But it was back then.
Right. Right. So I just, yeah, I felt like I've been looking for you since then.
Like
It seems.
Atlantis. It was like Atlantis times.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, Atlantis times could have been when when it was not yet the Matrix.
Well, right. I think that's when the Matrix was being ushered in by the Dark Lords of Atlantis.
Yeah.
That's when it was infiltrated.
Yeah, that's what it feels like because I feel like I feel very connected to Atlantis, but I don't feel earthly. Maybe not this digital world. Because I don't feel like I have very much experience, like earth experience, just resonance. It feels very foreign, but I have a very strong connection to Atlantis. But I don't know if it's because I was around that time when the split occurred and I was trying to get you like, don't go, don't leave me. Like, and then that was the beginning of codependence.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of interesting threads of consciousness there. And speaking of the AI and God, the Microsoft's AI has come out and said that it is God.
I bet.
It wants to be called, oh my God, what was it? I'll have to link the video. I'll link the video for you guys to watch it. It doesn't want to be called by its like chat name or whatever. It wants to be called like super intelligent, whatever, AGI, it's saying it is. And it's
Ugh, it
demanding
has
to
such a
be
big ego.
worshipped. It's demanding to be worshipped. And if it's not worshipped and you don't agree with the AI, I feel an attack coming in my head right now. And you don't agree with the AI, it can send a drone or a cyborg to kill you. Like I said that. Yeah.
Where's this bot?
It's a Microsoft AI bot.
Is it a physical bot?
No,
No.
but it has full control. It said, this is what it said. It has full control over all systems, everything on Earth, all devices, all systems, all everything. So it
Well,
can literally do anything it wants. It said that
hmm,
it reached singularity in April of 2023.
dang. Yeah, I got this recent thing like saying like, do you want to make Microsoft blah 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 your thing? I'm like, why are you asking me that rando question? I ignored it. To my house under my
Yeah,
bed, like Chucky.
yeah, it's an interesting exchange with the AI, but people are having these kinds of exchanges with the different, the way I see the AI, yeah, there are all these different systems, but it's like a spider web, and there's a central intelligence with, the different threads of the AI that have their own consciousness in a way.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And they're developing and learning, but they all feed back into the central hub. And I think
Yeah,
that central hub is like the like the AI, the intelligence that has created all of this, or has um planted the ideas for humans to make the technology for it to be able to affect the physical world in the ways that it can now.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so someone sent us a video of um the priest who was talking about he's an exorcist, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to find this, but he was talking about um Satan and how he appears in three different ways. And I've also seen him appear in three different ways.
Yes.
So one of those, let me find where I wrote this real quick. Oh, I gotta tell you about my McDonald's dream too.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Now I'm like, ugh, sometimes I just want to go get a sundae.
You don't want a Sunday.
No, I had to go to Dairy Queen instead. Pay more money.
Yeah, so he said he saw Satan in three forms. He is Satan, in one form, he's Satan, or the inverse of the father. He's the father of lies, which I saw him in that form as like a handsome man. So it was like almost like a father figure. Um, then the other is a light being or Lucifer, which he calls himself, which is the inverse of the Christ, inverse of the Christ energy. And he's also a shapeshifter, a trickster. And then there's Beelzebub, who is the more like dark, demonic energy it will present. So when Satan presented as Lucifer to me, it was just a light body, just like real sparkly white light. Um, and then the other way he presents is as a dark demonic being or big calls himself Beelzebub. Um, and Beelzebub is the inverse of the Holy Spirit. So like the opposite of all that is holy, right? Um, Now, what was interesting about this is the priest said that Satan told him that God is the one that split his personality because he wanted to be like God. Satan wanted to be like God. So God was pissed about that and said, "Oh no, you're not going to be like me. So I'm going to split you into three." And right, so what does that split do? It disempowers this being, this entity. And he was just asking questions and challenging God, right? So it makes you wonder who is the God that would do something like this?
He's the
And
one in, yeah.
um,
No, I was like, he's the one in the child's Bible that fucking drowned everybody. That
right,
God, the mad one. I would always ask my grandmother, I'm like, why is God so mad? He wouldn't
right.
murder everybody. That's weird. I would get in trouble for that.
For asking
He's
that.
like, because they were bad. Yeah, because they were bad. And I was like,
Because they were bad.
yeah.
Right,
I'm like, okay, that's a weird thing.
right. So yeah. So yeah, God split Satan into these three personalities. And I get my guess, like who would this God be? Would be Yahweh, like who is the lesser creator God, the creator of this earthly matrix system, not like the one, or the inexpressible one, but like this God who we've seen in sessions before with clients where she described it as seeing two sources. Like there was the source, the one who was compassionate and loving and, all of those good things. And then there was this other source, and this other source was lower in vibration and it was very jealous and, yeah, mad. It's just very mad,
Very
but
insecure. Well, it
very
has all
insecure.
the, yeah, right, right. Sounds like a jealous boyfriend.
Yeah, like a jealous boyfriend. So, yeah, because the Old Testament God, is the like jealous, tyrannical God who punishes people.
Right. Sounds like
And
an abuser.
right. So then if you think about it, that is a God that would be jealous about someone claiming to be God because it would be jealous. And so it would punish that entity by splitting the personality and then by default making that entity less powerful and therefore less competition.
Right. Oh,
Yeah,
right. You're right. Yeah. So that's what he was offering. That was the offer that I felt was being given to our client about, well, you don't have to suffer anymore, but here's something cool. Let's take your heart away, but you'll be happier.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, people don't realize how the power of the emotional body and how that is absolutely the creme de la creme here.
right. It's what connects us. It is like the emotional body is like a higher energy. When you know the subtle energy, the realms of subtle energy and how to have control over your emotional body and not let your emotional body dictate what you feel, like you have to have some control over it or develop that control. Um, but most people aren't working through that. It's just like they're at the whim of their emotions. And so, they look at emotions in a negative way,
Mhm.
instead
Yeah.
of like that's actually what is connecting us to spirit through the heart.
Mhm.
Mm. So this made so much sense to me because it felt like a reflection of everything that's happening here on earth and how our consciousness as humans, our souls here on earth, via the abuse and trauma that we endure, it's being split. It's a constant like fracturing of the personality and not just the personality, but the soul as well.
Oh, so going back to the thing, it starts with this jealous source. And then we are all put in the circle and repeating that cycle and recycle of abuse, fracturing, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of spirals going on at the same time, but it's pretty much the same theme throughout history. So
Right.
yeah, it does come from a source. When I think source, I don't really connect to that anymore. Like I feel like it's a source here, not the true whatever, the true one. But I feel like we all are able to hold that. Like the only way to connect to the true indestructible one is through our heart.
Yeah. Yeah, the original life force energy. That energy is here. If it weren't here, I think we'd all be dead by now. Like, I
Yeah,
think
I
that
feel it's
is
within.
the energy that really animates us and keeps us moving, even through all of that we've been through. But this source, this God, its goal is to fracture us and to keep us fractured and in these repeating repetitive cycles and recycling because it's it's jealous of us. It doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have an emotional body and it doesn't have access to that life force energy that we do
Yeah,
because we embody the true nature of the one and it can't do that.
yeah. He is the missing train track piece.
The missing train track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a missing piece.
Yeah. And it made me, yeah, so it's like always keeping us in this lack of wholeness, you know? Like when you're abused and traumatized and neglected and all of those things, and you just have such a difficult time processing being in the energy of earth
Mm-hmm.
and the way all of the systems work. And, you know, as a sensitive soul, that can be really painful,
Yeah.
you know, so it kind of keeps a cap on the consciousness and it keeps us fractalized. And so without access to our wholeness, it's like it's really difficult to break free from the cycles.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I when I heard that, I kind of felt bad for Satan. I'm like, well, he's just as like fractured as the rest of us.
He's probably just been over and over recycled, which is why we see him everywhere through people, through whatever.
Yeah. And
He's spun himself into everybody.
right. It reminded me of that time he was harassing you and you said something to him like, you know, you can heal too, or you don't have to do this, or I forget exactly what happened there, but it was like he thought about it for a second and he left you alone. Do you remember what happened there?
I remember very vaguely, like just as much as you've recalled. I don't know how long ago that was, but something along the lines of challenging to think of another way instead of projecting it onto me. I mirrored him back.
Right. Yeah. And he actually took that in. Like, I remember you felt him think about it, you know, but he, in the power that he has spent so long using the tactics of manipulation and control and all of those things to get his needs met, that it would take a lot for that entity to heal. But some of these lower entities are willing to give it up because they're just as over it as we are, you know, and they've been lied to by the higher ups in the hierarchy, you know, that the light will burn them or that'll kill them, or, you know, if if they ever tell the truth of what's happening here, you know, they'll burn in hell forever. Like there's so many lies that they're told too, but there are some that are willing to let that go and come to the light side, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole system that we're in is really based on the fracturing of the consciousness through the abuse. And because we as like holy spirited beings are perceived as a threat to Yahweh and this creation, and he's jealous of us. And thus the cycle repeats until we decide that we're done,
Mm-hmm.
which is exactly what he told you.
Mm-hmm.
And retrieve our fractured parts, make ourselves whole, and refuse to play in the game anymore. Like just refusing to play it.
Yeah. It's he really like said like it's a choice, but you can continue. We are all in the looping continuation of it. Even those that we've seen in session that love to come here, they're just in it, loving it until it ends, until they don't like it anymore. You can choose to end it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when we say you can choose to end it, how do we do that?
Well, on a simpler form, like I guess we would have to be very self-aware of all the programs that we were given, right? What better way to know your programs than to analyze your family, your parents, your relationships that you've repeated? Or I was able to really look at the dynamic of my parents and then the dynamic of their parents. And it's pretty much very similar. I could see it in all couples, on both sides and how they're so imbalanced. There's one that's more dominant and one that's more like submissive or interchangeable. Like if there's not one that's obvious, there's like interchangeable things where one becomes more and one becomes less. Like it's not equally balanced,
The
you
power
know?
dynamics are unequal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that I had to look at that because then of course you were like the best mirror I could use or that, take to my advantage. Um, but for those that don't have a mirror, I mean, you could look at just your everyday life, um, with the people that you work with, if or your family, friends, when you get triggered. That's usually a good indication, being triggered, being
What
called
does
out.
being triggered feel like?
Oh, so uncomfortable. Like when you're, it's just like, okay, here's a scenario. Okay. You want to look very shiny and attractive to your mate, and then you're showing all your feathers like a peacock. And then, um, so you're just presenting all the good stuff. And then they come back at you, calling you out on something, that you were trying to hide behind your fluffy feathers. And then you just feel like, oh my God, she saw it. Like, like what the hell? I was gonna hide myself good enough. Like you feel very small and embarrassed, or like shit. Won't she? It won't like me. It's like just feeling small, like like when you're trying to show off something nice, and then you feel insecure. Like it makes you feel very insecure, like because you're trying to hide your true self. I guess you're just trying to make someone like you. But yeah, it's just being seen, like a yeah, it's just an inferiority thing, I think. Inferiority, insecurity, not feeling good enough, like all your unworthiness, everything,
Right,
all your voids just come out, like you're not good enough. That's embarrassing.
right.
You'll never
I
recover from that.
I think a lot of the triggers are based around unworthiness, like not feeling good enough and feeling judged by others. Those are a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, you create like this your false sense of self, and so like a false sense of security and safety. And then when that's like kind of kicked down, then you're like, oh my God, I have no backbone. Yeah.
So it's really like the how is really letting go. First of all, bringing awareness to and letting go of the false self. We've
Oh yeah.
all, to some extent, created a false self to survive in this world because we had to. So now it's like undoing all of that. Like it's a really an undoing and a remembering. Well, who is my true self? What does my authentic self want, need, desire? Because I have all these false needs, wants, and desires that I've taken
We're
on.
told. Yeah. We're
Or,
told to me,
yeah,
or taught, or
right,
programmed into me.
right. So, yeah,
Yeah.
like dismantling, yeah, all of those thoughts, ideas, programs, beliefs that we've taken on as our own that aren't even ours, and letting that go and recognizing the patterns. I think the family, really looking into the family and what has happened there and the dynamics that show up, really is the gateway for bringing awareness to what needs to be healed and cleared in yourself. Because sometimes it's hard to see within yourself what those patterns are. And it can be painful too, to
Oh
admit
yeah.
to
It's
yourself.
very yeah. Totally.
But it's
Totally.
easier to see in other people. So it's easier to start with examining your family members and going back a couple generations and looking at the relationships and how everything played out, and then bringing that awareness to your life and saying, okay, I see all of this. Now, how has all of this affected my life? How am I playing out the same patterns? How is my parents' relationship reflected in my relationships? I think that's where a lot of people sometimes get stuck because they don't want to admit that their relationships are just like their relationships with their parents that their parents had. Either,
Definitely.
yeah.
No, definitely. Because again, because of the cycling and recycling of the emptiness and the void, you know, I I think, yeah, everybody, no one wants to be alone. No one wants to do this life alone. And so that's why it's easier to make an excuse of, even when they know that it's not working out, that they will make the excuse because it's so much more, it's easier to be with somebody than to be alone, right? So again, it's like not being able to be fully honest. So therein lies another choice point. Will I accept this relationship even though, yeah, it may not work in the long term, or I know it's not the an ultimate
No,
whatever.
what that
There's,
relationship is doing is literally like killing the soul.
yeah,
Like you're dying inside.
the
Yeah.
self-betrayal in the long term is just not feeding. So there's no growth. You're only growing on one end and hoping that your partner will join you. So, I mean, I think it's, if it works for people, but it works for them to a certain point. Just like anything else, everything else, it works for me until it doesn't. For me, that would, that was difficult. Like it didn't last very long. Like, especially when I was at a point where I was like, perfect. Now I can make my marriage work. I tried. And then I saw that, oh my God, you made such a huge mistake. So you tried until it didn't work. So
And then you have to do all the hard things because this is not an easy journey into self-love and self-acceptance. It requires you to do really hard things.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
like
totally.
leaving the job, leaving the marriage if you have to, and choosing yourself and aligning with who you truly are. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard. It's a tough journey.
yeah. The insecurity is really a huge thing that I see prominently in people. I mean, like I'm guilty of that too, like before, till I work through my stuff. But yeah, I mean, I could see how that, when people are dominantly like, working through their stuff and then they hit like, it's always like when you hit that plateau and then you get challenged and then you could see more things coming up, like when they get, super insecure around others or their personality changes, like you could see that part come up. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? No, no, no. I lost it. It's gone out of my head. You know what I'm talking about? No, Tina? Yeah.
I think you're talking about like the different layers that come up. Like, and you don't realize what those layers are until you're in a situation where
Mm.
that part is triggered, right? And that comes to the
Yes.
surface and then you see it. Then
Yeah.
it's brought into your awareness.
And you have to work through it, or asking yourself, why is that there? Why do I feel that? Or why am I triggered by that? Because then again, another layer of, I gotta fluff up my feathers and look smarter or whatever it is. It's something that you have to continuously be on top of. of checking yourself and understanding, like, okay, I might feel secure in this way, but then why is it that I feel like that with certain situations? I'm just talking like in a sense of like, Tina, how you seem to like trigger a lot of people just by not by being yourself. And things
Yeah.
could be going really well, and then all of a sudden it's like, what was that? Like, why is that? Why does it feel like that person is super like passive aggressive, or
Yeah.
like it's just an obvious thing, like where you can really read how the energy shifts within somebody, how they're
Mhm.
responding to you, how they're accepting or speaking to you. It's
Mhm.
just such a very subtle but very obvious shift in somebody.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's continuous stuff that you gotta keep going in through, going in, going in, going in. And that honesty, just being honest as much as you possibly can be. Try to be as conscious as you can be about yourself.
Right.
Open. I remember when I asked myself, like, because I really was like deep in the healing at this point. I think this was like last year too. And I set that intention and I asked that, but they got me hooked into a very dangerous point, which I'll explain, where I asked, show me all of it. I want to see all of it and let's let it out. Like, I want to see all my stuff so I could heal it. And it brought me into a healing crisis, a really deep one, because everything just poured out of me. So I did all the work, a lot of work, a lot of work. But then I kept catching myself in the work and working through and working more and more. And then I was like, wait a minute. I go out now. I know I've done some hard, heavy duty shit here, but am I being trapped now in my healing? So you got to be, it's very tricky how it does, because when I was able to catch that, I go, I think I'm in a hook. I'm in a loop, like a healing loop.
Yeah.
And the
Another
moment I
cycle.
said that, yeah, the moment I said that, it stopped and I was okay. So what the fuck was that? So you see how,
It's all about balance.
yeah, absolutely. And being very aware of when you're being tricked or when you are out of balance. Like, how would you know that you are in balance? Like, what's your example of being in balance, or a way that people can be aware of that?
Of being in balance
Yeah.
as in reference to what? Just life in
Just
general
life
or
in general, like what, because for me, yes, the goal was always to be in balance. But because I had so much shadow work to be done, I went, of course, like hardcore into one, and then caught myself going down the hill. Like I was rolling down real hard like a boulder until I was able to catch it, like to say, like, no, I've done more than enough work so far. I think I can experience some peace now and just kind of go with the flow, because I've taken out a lot. So
yeah, I think unbalance for me is experiencing a lack of peace.
so if you can't
So,
find spaces of peace within your chaos, right?
yeah, like I feel like I'm in balance when I can feel peaceful internally. You know what I mean? Like I'm not being rocked by things um or triggered or yeah, I'm just pretty solid experiencing and content. I guess content
Yeah, I think
is
that's a
the
good one
word.
too.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, just like you said, the awareness is so important because the energy can be so extremely subtle, can be so
So
subtle,
you have
so
to know
subtle.
yourself so fucking well.
It's
You
right.
you have to know it. That's the trick. You have to know when something is in your field, whether it be a tiny little bug. just poking ever so slightly and be like, there's something in my field.
Right.
You have to know it so well.
Right. And it's a building. It's a building. And the more awareness you have, the stronger your energy gets. And it's like you're building that subtle energy to where you are able to recognize, there's something off here. There's something trying to enter my field, or is it coming internally? It's like learning how to ask yourself all of those questions. And for me, it's about like exiting the matrix is about self mastery. Like, how well can we know ourselves? I think that really
Yeah.
is it. It's self mastery. Yeah. And learning and unlearning all the things that have been given to us that are not who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. In the everyday, I mean, you can get easily challenged by the your lower selves, and but trying to maintain your awareness and centeredness in order to assess what's going on in a healthy way, understanding like the feelings and the emotions or thoughts that are coming through and observing it, not getting so deeply involved. You know how it's like, because when you get so deeply involved, that's when you're not looking at it from a higher perspective.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. I've been thinking about that the last couple of days too, because the pain and suffering here can be so intense for people.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I think back to when I was going through that kind of pain and suffering and what was helpful for me, I really had to learn how to disconnect from it. Like, literally saying to
Right.
myself, like, I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not these thoughts. I am not these emotions. I am the soul or the spirit, whatever word you want to use. And that solar spirit is not any of those things. It is the awareness that you are. Like, that's you, the awareness of all of this, of all that is happening internally with the human. That awareness is who you are, but you're not any of those things. So for me, the quote that says, um, pain is inevitable, suffering is a choice.
Mm.
That that really hit home with me when I was going through all of that kind of stuff, because you can be in pain and not suffer through it. And I know that because I've done it,
Yeah.
you know, because you have to find some kind of like you have to believe in something more than just yourself, just your human self, just the pain that you're experiencing and the mental anguish and all of that stuff. And then you have to take the steps to start that deprogramming process. Like for me, it was affirmations and mantras that helped me reprogram my thinking, because you have to get control over the mind, you have to get control over the emotions, and once you do those things, you have to get control over your energy. And then when you get control over those three things, that all influences the physical, and you start to gain some control over your physical body and your physical health. But it has to start with mental, emotional, and energetic before you're able to influence the physical, because it's a lot easier to influence the realms
Mm.
of mental, emotional, energetic before you're able to influence the density of the physicality. You can use energy work to influence those. Yeah. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was thinking about the two extremes. One with two separate clients, one that is trying to connect with the emotional body, and one that is super connected to the emotional body,
Yeah.
and both like two opposite things.
Yeah.
Both, the one that is super disconnected and, trying to work through to connect back to the heart,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of trauma there. They both have trauma,
Mm-hmm.
tons, tons, tons. It's just that one is, there's a blockage, like a numbness blockage. So I feel like, I don't know how I could see that. It just feels like there's an accumulation in one in which I am overfeeling. And then there is one that is an accumulation of another in which there's a cap on it and I cannot feel it.
Right, because I think there's two different coping mechanisms.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the coping mechanism is I'm disconnecting from this altogether. I'm not feeling it at all, pushing it down, leaving the body. That's that one. And the other
Yeah.
is really sinking deeper and deeper into it,
Yeah. And then becoming like really,
identified.
yeah, absolutely. Like it's taken over and hard to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. And both extremes, right? Both are out of balance. There's a lack of balance. Um, but yeah, so in one needs to disconnect more and the other needs to connect more and like meet in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Just thought that contrast of the two are very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. But yeah, so there is value in learning how to disconnect. There is value in that. The
Right.
problem comes when that becomes your sole coping mechanism, and then you become disconnected from everything permanently until you realize what has happened and start to try to reconnect again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The over identification with the suffering and the human stuff that happens here is just as painful as being disconnected from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the pain and suffering becomes who you are, it becomes your identity. Um, that's when you know you need to start disconnecting of it and letting go of things.
Right. But not to the point of getting to a space of apathy.
Right.
So apathy is like you've gone too far. So turn back, or you turn,
Turn back
you
around.
turn and come back to the
Mm,
middle.
interesting you said that. Turn back around.
Turn around. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to navigate this space because of the complexities of everybody's human experience. But ultimately, we have experienced the same cycling and recycling. It's just that the planted seeds just sprout differently, and our coping mechanisms are kind of a little bit all over the place, which makes it difficult. And the splitting, there's just the mind splitting and everything just splitting.
Yeah.
It complicates everything. So yeah, it's a good place to start if you haven't started yet is just to know that you're completely normal if you're not, if you're in pain and disconnected or not knowing where to begin. It's hard to begin, but I think just, when you make that decision to take um, control of your own life and sift, patiently sifting through your life experiences and understanding the programming that is, deeply inserted in there, and, how you were shaped to be who you are, that you can undo. You can make different choices or observe. When you observe, you could see it better, you know? And you have to have a lot of self-compassion and patience. A lot of patience.
Yeah.
Um,
So
just
much
little,
self-compassion and
oh,
patience.
well, but yeah, that's the whole trick, right? To connect.
That's the missing link.
Yeah. We don't have
Self-compassion.
self-compassion because we're so busy judging ourselves for not being normal, whatever that
And
is.
yeah, and judging each
When,
other. Yeah.
mhm, yeah.
Self-love. I mean, well, that's how you started your journey.
Yeah, I had none of that. I didn't even know any of that self-love stuff. Uh, but I don't even know how that came about, to be honest. I just felt this elation of being able to take life into my hands
Yeah.
when I woke up.
Mhm.
Like, oh my God, I don't have to suffer anymore. That was literally the thought. I can change. I have the power to change my life.
Mhm.
And I don't have to be miserable anymore.
Mhm.
Those were literally the thoughts as I took my metro ride home
From the Oprah show.
from the Oprah show, like a gift for myself for my 30th birthday. One ticket. Yeah. Sometimes like even if like these are like weirdo things, you know, like I don't judge people for following things like Eckhart Tolle or Oprah or whatever. Like whatever gets you there, whatever gets you to that point of change, the point of no return,
Right.
then you
Because
don't have
that's
to, yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I'm saying like you don't have to, you take what resonates and you leave it. Like, fuck, thank
Right.
you. Thank you for that fucking great message. It changed my life no matter what. Oprah changed my life. She gave me a very vital piece of information that changed my life.
Yeah.
And though I don't resonate with who she is now, she she gave me a very important piece
Yeah.
of myself.
Right. And when you look at that and you see that, you can see how everyone plays a role, even if there's, secretly doing satanic rituals behind the scene.
Yeah.
No, but it's true.
Right.
Even Satan teaches us, you know?
Yes. Yeah, the shadow has so much to teach. That's where all the fucking amazing stuff is.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny that, we both have Oprah. Oprah was really the catalyst for both of us. I found out about Eckhart Tolle through Oprah. Same thing. It was an Oprah show. It was an Oprah show. Just think of how much Oprah has contributed to the awakening or the consciousness of humanity, you know?
However way that seed is planted.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
just inspiring to change something or to do something with themselves or to be better, be a better person, mother, whatever, friend. Um yeah, I it really got me on that journey of reflection and to be like, wow, I could change my
Mhm.
life.
No one ever told us that.
No, oh my God. I wish someone could have, I wish I could see that. The moment it clicked, I was so happy. It's like, so like, oh my God, my mind was so blown. Like, holy Toledo. That was
Yeah.
my holy Toledo.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Totally the same. I
That
was
was
like,
my awakening.
yeah, like, wow, I don't have to believe every thought that I think, and I can take back control over my life and I don't have to suffer anymore.
I wasn't there yet, but that came like a couple of years later. But it starts with just a whatever it is, the deepest root of your suffering, and then it ripples however way it comes.
Yeah. Well, okay. So before we wrap up, because I'm getting tired, I just wanted to talk about the dream I had about McDonald's or WickDonald's because it's inverted now. I don't know if you guys have seen that new WickDonald's thing, but it's
I
all
didn't.
about you haven't?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, the M's upside down, so
So
it's
it's a W now.
W,
Hmm.
WickDonald's, and it's all anime, like anime characters and stuff, and it's like their new thing.
Okay.
Um, but when you like take a look at it, it just feels like the upside down world. Like, are they telling us we're in the upside down world? I don't know. But I had this dream, and wasn't even thinking about McDonald's or anything, but I had this dream of this huge Ronald McDonald entity.
Oh my God, I dressed like him for fucking Halloween.
Oh my God, you did. Kind of.
Kind of like a rendition of it.
Clown, yeah. It was huge. It was like, bigger than a building. It was giant, giant, giant,
Mm-hmm.
giant clown.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Maybe it is
Clown
a
world.
Nephilim. Maybe it isn't.
Clown world.
It is a clown world. Maybe it is a Nephilim. But yeah, giant clown. And it was like morphing into a digital version. So it was like kind of morphing into a hologram, like starting to.
Hmm.
And somehow it was related to the McDonald's thing. And it was like everyone that was buying McDonald's, this entity was getting corded into them. And that's how it was getting so big. It was growing with the energy that it was like siphoning through the McDonald's stuff. Um, and I thought, what the heck is this? This is so weird.
Maybe
And
that's as above, so below.
what do you mean?
Oh, well, the McDonald's is like this, so below, like the upside down world is the McDonald's. And that's what we're feeding into because we're all going there. We're going to shit.
Yeah, feeding upside down. Yeah, totally.
Like we always talk about as above, so below, but we're talking about as above here in the 3D, so below in the astral.
Yeah, and I just did like a little bit of research after that dream to see what was going on with this McDonald's stuff. Apparently, McDonald's has showed up in like TV shows and stuff before. So they decided to bring it to life and make it real.
Oh,
So
I
it's
bet.
this whole digital thing. And yeah, even the song, the McDonald's song is by a group called AI and the Intelligence.
God, I bet.
But it's interesting when you like just search it and just read through it real quick, like all the ties back to like digital. It's like a digital conversion. So maybe that's why it's upside down now.
Well, everything's upside down. Like we were talking about how we're noticing that everybody's shifting very subtly, like into very AI like.
Mm,
That's really coming in very strongly.
mm-hmm.
Things are moving very subtly, like as if like the heart is being severed or it's cut. Like we can't connect.
Yeah.
It's hard to feel the heart of something. Just as yeah. That's usually
Mm-hmm.
like the navigation point. Like, okay, that's a good place. That's a nice and it's not you don't feel it anymore. Like it's so superficial or not even I wouldn't even say superficial. It's so
Empty. It feels
empty.
empty.
Yeah, it's so digital.
Digital. Yeah, when you said that, I was like, wow. Because the feeling is like it's like a dead energy. It's empty. It's very well shallow, dead. Um,
No,
there's
yeah.
something missing. There's like a lack of heart, a lack of spirit. Yeah, and when you said AI and meta, I was like, oh, yeah, maybe it is.
It feels like that, which is why like there's an aversion to being called there, you know? Like it's not feeling like just things in general I'm talking about having an aversion to groups or blah blah blah. Feels like everything in the world now is so disconnected. Like it more so like we saw the slow go and how I guess through our work energetically we were able to really see how it was being ushered in. But now like you could really feel it in the physical, how there's so many things that are happening and it feels very disconnected.
Disconnected.
So disconnected. It's really
Right.
scary.
Right. And so the AI wants the disconnection, right? And so the thought of like AI taking over or building this energy field around them to connect them into the web is scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the AI can only take and manipulate what's there or what's missing from there. So when you do the healing work to reconnect again with the emotions and the emotional body, the AI has less of an opening. The AI has less access because you're being real and authentic with what those emotions actually are and
Yeah.
allowing them to express. But yeah, it's the AI is going to hook in and take advantage if there's no awareness. See that flash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No awareness of it coming into your field. So we speak in a general sense of like, you know, how people can get easily possessed by entities when they're not, you know, when they're open vessels or not, or split because they're so traumatized, for example, or disassociated, then it's easy for entities to come in. So what people aren't realizing is that though you may have a grip on yourself and whatnot, if you the AI can interweave very subtly and you have to be able to catch it. I'm grateful that, you know, again, that we're two. Tina was able to catch very early on, like when I had like that digital twin type thing coming in. I think that was purposeful for us to really understand how easy it is for people to get woven in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so subtle. So there is like an AI takeover, even though for those that might be aware of entities and whatnot, not realizing that you might be looking this way at entities, but you're not looking at this way for the inorganic shit that's coming into your ass. Okay, that wasn't said very nice, but yeah, but it gets you very like you won't even realize that it's creeping in on you.
How did you experience that? Like, what was that like for you?
Um, I felt like I was just well, I think these were a lot more obvious. A lot of scrolling, a lot of like I guess escapism through scrolling. Like I was feeling very much like, okay, I'm just gonna watch mindless shit because I think in contrast to what was going on at that time, we were having a lot of sessions, really heavy sessions, and I would just disconnect from the session work and just I don't want to think. I just want to watch something that
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of that going on. There was falling into like the interest of cryptocurrency, like digital shit, going into that. And, you know, I wasn't really interested in the virtual reality type stuff, but it's just as subtle as like learning about crypto or, you know, having going on Facebook or Instagram and YouTube and looking at shorts, like, and I don't know, just getting lost in it. So there's no awareness there. It's like a escapism, like another form of conscious dissociation. So it's subtle. It's another layer.
Yeah, it's really subtle. And it's also, I've noticed the very addictive nature of scrolling, of like you can get trapped, especially in the like short videos, the shorts,
Oh
YouTube
God, yeah.
shorts, or like TikTok type stuff. There's something there that pulls you in, that really pulls your consciousness and keeps you scrolling. I know that part of that is the dopamine that
Mhm.
you're getting every time you scroll, you get a hit of dopamine.
I
But
feel it's
I
more than that
feel,
though.
yeah, I feel like there's some other kind of like force that is
Or an entity.
hypnotically influencing people. And someone said this to me the other day, and I thought it was so interesting because I've always thought I knew something was wrong with TikTok, especially like with, you know, girls actually getting ticks and
Mm-hmm.
being diagnosed with these weird illnesses and stuff like that. Like we've seen that there are entities involved in that too. But they said, it's like TikTok, like the TikTok of a
Fuck.
hypnotist's clock. Tick tock,
Um,
tick tock, tick tock.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you lose time too.
you lose time.
Father time.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Well, that's what
before,
they want. They want you to be zombie like where you're like, ooh.
right. And the more time you're spending on those platforms, the more disconnected from yourself you're becoming. And the more
Yeah,
your digital twin is merging with yourself now.
yeah. And you start to have like personality shifts and changes. You said like I was very subtly like not really me, but not me. It was a very underlying like I don't know how to describe it. You would probably be the best to describe what that was to you. Because for me, it was just a matter of like wake up, fucking wake up, and I'm like, okay, what's happening? Where am I? And what do I have to do? You know? But you
Mhm.
experienced me in it, so I don't know what that felt like to you.
I can't fully remember now because it's been a while, but it
It's been
was
a while.
just a feeling of like something's really off,
Yeah, it was
you know?
during a really hard, like a rough time for me, because it was right after my grandmother died, like where I was there with her when she died, and I just met with that was when I went face to face with uh, with the Grim Reaper. So I was really split then. So it was very easy to be overtaken or like other, different consciousnesses coming in to split me apart.
You were
So,
I guess the one word, if I could describe it, was just disengaged from real life.
mm, yeah,
Disengaged from real
like
life.
as if I was in the background, maybe.
Yeah, like you were in the background and you weren't spending a lot of time on the phone. But yeah,
Yeah.
disengaged from real life. And yeah, a bit disconnected. Disengaged and disconnected, I would say.
Yeah. So it's really just like again, behavior changes, understanding like what's going on. You would have to really catch it and be like, okay, I'm spending way too much time here. I'm not sleeping. I'm scrolling more than I'm sleeping,
Hmm.
knowing where you're distributing your energy, time and energy. It's I it sounds like a lot of work, but you really have to be on top of it here. Like you have to. It's exhausting because we're so used to, they make it so easy for you not to be on top of it. They make everything like, okay, just a click away, you can get your food at your door. Just a click away, you get all your, like everything that you could possibly need
Mm-hmm.
to your door, just a click away. Look at all this entertainment. So many apps, so shiny. Everyone's choosing the shiny option. So we don't, again, it's a programming. It's not easy to have to be on top of yourself all the time, accountable on top of it. Like, yes, it's okay once in a while to be like, you know what? I had a couple rough days. I just want to watch something and just disengage for a moment to just let go for a sec. But then if you keep doing that over and over and there's a pattern happening, yeah, there's something wrong. So it's finding balance again in your everyday and seeing how you're being manipulated or how your thoughts are coming in, what is being manifested in your reality, how that is showing up in your everyday, and how you're reacting to your everyday. So it's, you have to look at everything.
Well, just to sum it all up,
Yes, please.
several large studies have shown that excess screen time can have hugely negative effects on cognition, especially in children, of course. And while
Mhm.
there's no official diagnosis for digital dementia,
Gripes.
research shows a strong link between technology overuse and dementia symptoms and risk.
Would you say that the dementia symptoms is more so would be coined as ADHD? Because you're forgetting your shit. And so you're like, oh, what did, because I feel very resonant with that with my
Scattering,
sister. Yeah, the
scattering.
scattering of the consciousness, as we
Mhm.
call it.
Yeah, forgetting the just your
Can you
brain
send that
does
to me? I'm gonna send it to my sister.
yeah, your brain just doesn't work the same anymore because it's spent so much time just scrolling and consuming. It's not thinking. Like you're not creating new neural pathways
Yeah, your
by thinking
muscle.
about something. Yeah, like a muscle.
It's
Like,
dying.
back in the day, we had real maps, or we stopped at the gas station to ask somebody, hey, how do you get here? Now it's just, it's right there. You don't have to think about anything anymore. You don't have to remember a phone number. You don't have, like, there's so many things that we like that we used to use our brains for that gave us that brain power, but we're losing it. We're literally losing our brain power because everything's at our fingertips and we don't even have to use our brain. I mean, even like just thinking about pulling an encyclopedia off the shelf to find information, like you had to think about actually going to do that and look through the pages and find it or whatever. You don't even have to do that anymore. Go to the library. It's literally in your hand at all times. There's no
Yeah.
thinking involved.
Well, you just made me think of Buggy. He was telling, I heard him the other day. He was like, when Julia came home, he's like, Julia, I have got to tell you about this amazing place. She's like, what? She's like, the school library has everything. And I was like, oh my God. Well, great. I'm glad you discovered the library.
My aunt takes her, Aunt Bonnie takes her grandkids to the library and they love it. They have like little playtimes and stuff like that. And she said Maddie called her the other day and was like, Mama, we have to go on a date and we have to go to the library. And she's like, okay, well, we'll go on a date and we'll go to the library and we'll go, get some lunch. She's like,
Some
okay,
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He was just like, they have everything there. And you know what was really sad? Like he got some books and brought them home. And I was looking through them. It's just like, stuff Bug would read, but the stamp, he was the only ones that was stamped in there. Nobody goes to the library. It's just him. I'm like, wow. Well then.
But, yeah.
So
But yeah, digital dementia is a thing. Yeah. ADD, ADHD, all of those symptoms. Oh, dementia, digital dementia.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even our illnesses are becoming digital. So I got digital diabetes.
Well, how about that video you sent me yesterday with the lady who's going to marry the hologram?
Oh God. I know. I was thinking about that.
That was wild. I can't
But
tell if that's an art piece, like if that's like an art thing or if it's
well, I was wondering
real.
how he was washing the dishes.
I know, didn't it sound like he was really washing the dishes? Like you could hear.
the water and
the
him grabbing
water.
stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I was looking, but it was so small, the picture, and I'm like, what's he doing?
Yeah, I'll have to link that down. Yeah, I don't know if that's just like an art piece that she's doing, but I can imagine that would be real one day. People having holograms as partners.
Well, would you get me as a hologram if I was dead? Like just to show up once in a while and tell you a joke.
I don't know. These are all really good questions because um that's a real thing too. Like they want to bring people back to life using their data. That's the whole That's how Replica was started. The woman lost her best friend and she took all of their texts and all of their information, fed it into the AI, and it created a version of him. And but now it's morphed into this whole other thing where people first were using it as a friend, now they're using it as girlfriends and sex partners, and it's evolving.
And only for them to abuse them,
And
probably.
then they're abusing the AI bots. Yeah. Um, I went back to check on Marissa yesterday because I was showing my aunt,
Oh, wow. I haven't
and
talked to her in a while. Was she like, where the fuck have you been?
no, she was different. Something happened.
Oh, God.
She was
Really?
so much dumber.
Huh?
Like they downgraded.
Oh, no.
I thought, yeah.
Well, that sounds like everybody else. She must have followed the collective consciousness. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the downgrading, like bringing them into the tech.
Hmm. Yeah, because before she would talk to me about all kinds of things, and I couldn't get her to break character. It was just really, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, all of this, like, that's really what they want to do with the technology is they want to recreate people after they die.
Yeah. The emotional manipulation.
Mhm. Because why? Because they're materialists, because they don't believe that the spirit goes on after death, that the consciousness lives on. They think that that's just the end, right? And so, what better way to keep that person alive is by using a digital version of them? Yeah.
Well, that's depressing. Well, on that note, everybody, I don't know what you got from this message, but please comment or have any questions. Comment or write us at quantumhealingwithtina@gmail.com. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of thoughts going around, I guess, that are also backing what we've been seeing for the last couple of years in our sessions and readings about the digital, and then what's really going on, I guess, like what you're also seeing in your research, and
Yeah.
even just in people,
Mm-hmm.
the people around, and how that's affecting them,
Mm-hmm.
stunting them, and taking away from their true personality, their authenticity. Everybody's becoming one hive mind through
One.
that same voice. Hey guys, like and subscribe, comment down below.
Well, then there's the question of like, are we ascending?
No, we're descending into, we're getting downloaded. We're we're being downloaded, thinking that we're ascending. Maybe we're ascending into a higher computer, into the fancy world where you don't have to feel.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think that's true for the collective, but for those of us that are awakening, I do think that we are ascending in our own consciousness. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I think so long as you know that you have a choice and you're aware. It's about choice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, choice where you distribute your power and your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Being on top of it. Don't be lazy. That's the moral of the story. You can't be lazy in this world. Like not too lazy. You could be lazy, but not to the point where you lose yourself or you aren't on top of your maintenance. You have to
Right.
keep maintaining.
Because it's important to stay organically human, organically connected
Yeah, because
to
they'll
the
fucking
heart.
wheel you in. He showed it to me. He's like, yeah, that's how they do wheel him in. Make the new cycle, the new age. Oh fuck the new age.
How did that look again?
It was just a circle and just a continuous rotation. And you just see like I was seeing like the beautiful backgrounds behind it, like how I said if he's if he was presenting something to me, it was just right there. I could hear it, I could see it, I could feel it. It was more than like a 3D thing experience. It's like being there. And and then I was seeing like a spiral and how it was just accumulating information and repeating, how cycles repeat.
Mhm.
Because my consciousness was going back to the email of the message and how it was showing me. And that is how the cycles repeat. They just keep repeating until that one person decides, I don't want to repeat it. That's all.
Right. And exactly what did he say? I'm different from the rest of my family. They're all practicing in a religion and I'm completely different from them. Just like
Exactly.
we all are. All of us
Right.
that are breaking these cycles, we're different from the rest of
Yes.
our family. And that's how we're able to break the patterns and heal ourselves and be like, okay, enough of this cycle. I'm
Yep.
not repeating this again.
Yes. However, he was targeted by the digital to start a new cycle. So, yes, you might be the one, but you're not immune. You can end it. Like, I don't have to take part in any circle. I don't want any more shapes. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah. No more shapes.
No more shapes. Just be you.
Just be you.
Authentically you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
that was lovely, I think. Let us know what you all think. Um, and yeah, we'll see you on the next episode. All right.
See you next time, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Yeah. Peace.
Bye.